Hello, this is Brad Allen, and welcome to Outdoor Asylum. We are recording and filming this podcast in the Cache River studio at the Elite Call shop. Here, as always, with producer Jake Seipert. Jake, how you doing, man?
Good morning, doing real good. How are y'all?
Great. Jake is the wizard behind all of this that you never see. We keep him behind the curtain as much as possible. Guys, have a really special guest with us today. Good friend of mine. He is the product development manager, head guy in charge of product development at NatGear Camouflage, right. Mr. John Adams.
Yep. That's the gig.
All right, man. Well, thanks for being with us, man. Really appreciate you making the trip.
I promise you, it's my pleasure and my honor. So this is a super nice place, and I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. You know, I have to tell you, man, you hurt my feelings a little bit earlier. I called to invite you to come on this, and for some reason, going on a turkey hunting trip in Montana was more important or more attractive than coming down here and hanging out with me. I just can't imagine that.
I thought maybe there was a way we could kind of hit it on the way. I like to just put things in a line and do it on the way to or from the way from. But boy, in the springtime, man, we get after it and kind of travel around, go lots of different places, and just try to go see some new country. You know, more than anything. That's something that just probably a lot of hunters can agree with that. That's something just as a hunter you'll chasing turkeys, ducks, deer, whatever it may be, it'll lead you to a lot of really cool places where I don't know if I would ever lay eyes on if I didn't participate.
What all states did you hit this spring chasing the turkeys?
Let's see. We started out over in Mississippi with them hardheads over there in March.
The people or the turkeys?
Man, it's a little bit of both. Yeah, but enjoy it. You know, they're kind of a good way to kind of get your feet under you and get your season going. Mm-hmm. And they come back here, and Arkansas opens a little bit later on into middle April, and then after that I was to Indiana and Illinois, and then we went to North Dakota, Montana, Wyoming this last swing. I think I went somewhere in between there. I would really have to kind of think about it.
That's pretty cool. You were on the road quite a bit. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, and like I said, it's something I have been doing that for. It's really become popular in the last few years with a bunch of these different guys doing it on YouTube and kind of been a little more popularized lately. But it's something I started doing, back probably 20 or 25 years ago. Mm-hmm. So it was.
Let's pull that mic a little bit closer to. We didn't get you set up just real good there.
Just as was because I really got started hunting here and really love turkey hunting in short season or whether you tag out or whatever it may be, and it's like, well, I'm not ready for it to be over with. So, the first thing we started doing, jump in a truck and you start hunting the border states around, and then you go see the next place, and I think like I talked to you about one thing I may never do again. I don't know if I'm going to drive across the strait of North Dakota again during the day. I don't know that I have any more interest in that. There's, like I've been told by the folks at Delta Waterfowl, May pond counts are through the roof. There's a lot of ducks, and I would completely agree with that. There's a lot of water. There's a lot of ducks, but, man, after about 100 miles of looking at that, you ready to see something else.
You actually got tired of looking at ducks. That's hard to imagine.
I did. There's a bunch of them up there. I can assure you those people up there, they probably don't care nothing about them whatsoever because they look at them all the time. And I'm talking about them dudes who are out swimming right up next to the freeway. So,
wow.
Yeah, pretty interesting. Of course, this time of year they're relaxed. They're pair bond. I'm sure the hens are probably just about, there should be little ducklings. I was surprised we didn't see any just any time now. So,
what was the coloration of them like?
Man, they're absolutely beautiful. I
really?
mean, everything of a drake right now is so just, he's full plumage, just as good as they get.
I never really thought about it that much. Of course, here in Arkansas, the ducks, they're gone, and we don't see them again until, unless we go down to the park and feed them a little bread. We don't see anything until they get back. But in my mind, for some reason, I was thinking like March, April, that's when they would be starting to eclipse again.
I don't think it's too far away. But I mean, boy, right now, my favorite one right now is that blue winged teal, that big drake. Man, he is just as beautiful. It's rare. I'm sure some guys on occasion. You'll see some folks that'll shoot some colored up ones here in January, but it's pretty uncommon, Did
you do anything else in Montana? That's a dream of mine to see Montana. Did you do anything else?
I'll tell you a really cool story about Montana. First time I've ever been there in that state. We were hunting, a piece of national forest, and would be Monday morning about 10 days ago, whatever it was. And we're on the side of a mountain, and there's a little pond down there, big ponderosas, rocks, and all kinds of things, and old turkeys gobbling. And Merriam's turkeys in general, they're really very vocal, especially the hens. You're going to hear a lot of talk on the roost, and I mean, they're just hammering, getting after it, just pop, 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 pop. They're just going back and forth, and that old gobbler's hitting it every now and then. Some jakes in there calking. Well, about that time, what really caught my attention, I'm focused on that, but and there's about a squadron of about 8, and they just banked that mountain and went down and lit in that pond.
Oh, man.
And my buddy said, man, wasn't that cool? And I said, yeah.
Yeah, you don't think
it was cool.
We don't think about seeing ducks and turkey on the same hunt when we're here.
It was just like, man, it's, if there was any place you could ever say, sit right here and you might never see a greenhead, well, that'd have been it. But, man, they sailed in between them mountains and just lit down in that pond. And I was like, wasn't that cool?
I bet that was beautiful.
And we got to noticing all those little mountain creeks and little mountain ponds or little backwaters, whatever it may be. There'd be a pair or two. There'd be a pair or two. And those ducks, they're probably not going anywhere. That's probably home for the, probably next time they head up, they're coming towards us.
Right.
So
right. That's base camp.
Yeah. So that part was pretty neat. When you get in those production states, you kind of forget that this may be as far as some of these are going.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You said on the turkey Merriam's, is that primarily what you're shooting? Are there any other species up there in Montana? Or?
I think the state of Montana is mostly Merriam's. There's probably some hybrids, but just that species in general, traditionally they start in, I think the time all those turkeys got on the ground, there was probably a dozen or so with really just one gobbler, 3 or 4 jakes, and I think 8 hens, but they're just real vocal, especially early in the morning and at night. They just make a lot of noise. I don't know if they're just sorting out and making sure everybody made it through the night because it's pretty tall in the mountains and it was cold that morning. Well, I had on about everything I brought. It was probably in the mid-20s.
Wow.
Yeah. So, we experienced that, whatever that was, 2 weeks ago today when we had that cold front come blowing in here, out of the north. So you can imagine how it was pretty cold in that part of the world.
That much more up there. Yeah. I'm really excited about having you on here to hear some history about NatGear, preparing for this and thinking about it. I remember the first time that I saw NatGear back, I don't know, probably mid-90s, I'm guessing,
probably so.
Somewhere around there. And the first time I saw it, I was like, that's not going to work. And that is just, because it was so different from anything else that I had seen. Building up to that. As a kid, I remember my first camo that I had is what we would call old. I guess I'm old school.
Sure.
And the camo we called an old school type camo. And the one I thought I was pretty much ahead of the curve growing up because I tried to use a lot of it was just the military style camo. It was the greens and blacks. Basically, what you'd see if you watched if you saw what the soldiers were wearing, like Vietnam era type stuff, that was the type of camo that I was wearing. And when I saw NatGear, it was so much lighter, and it just, it wasn't really made to look exactly like a bunch of leaves or foliage or something like that. And I thought, there's no way that stuff is going to work. It was so different. And it wasn't until I started talking to people like, man, have you used any of that camo? Talking to other guys that just absolutely loved it. So who started NatGear? How did that start?
The guy that started, Larry Ryle, he's from down in McGee, southeast Arkansas, and Larry grew up hunting Calk Island down there for years, and huge history, in that part of the world for deer hunting and duck hunting and turkey hunting, just about everything. And they essentially were using, the way he decided to invent something different. They were using the patterns that were available then. And, down there, it's like most places, you start out early in the season, heavy foliage, you can't really pick things out at a distance, due to the leaf cover. Mm-hmm. But they were on a deer hunt late in the year, and there's a lot of bears down there. And essentially, he was with his brother. His brother gets up in a tree, or he's in a stand, or whatever it may be, and they're driving around the other end of the place there, and 300 or 400 yards, they can see this guy over there. They're like, that's a big old bear up in that tree. Well, it's not a bear. It's him and the available camo, which is too dark, turned into a big blob. You look like a bear sitting up there.
Yeah.
So that's when he kind of started coming up with the ideas of just these, the light colors that are just continually present in the woods, no matter the time of year. Those tones are always there. Mm-hmm. And that's what he really kind of started basing things on, was just thousands and thousands and thousands of photographs from across the country and there just kept being that constant. There's those constant light colors. There's constant. Okay, and what you have with that light, you don't have that blob effect. You just don't get it. You know, no matter 10 yards, 100 yards, you're going to blend in. So that's, you know, kind of what he's based everything on, was just that continued showing of those same light colors. You know, so a lot of people, to the naked eye, when it's hanging out there on the shelf or whatever it may be, it looks kind of like, I don't know about that, just like you're saying. You know, but then you take it and you put it in the woods, and you're like, man, wait a minute. I mean, how many guys, I mean, the number one story I've probably been told over the years is, man, I was duck hunting, shot a duck. My brother wears NatGear, whatever it may be, wears NatGear. He walks across the hole, goes and gets the ducks. Man, I can't find him. I can't see him. And that's kind of when that light goes off.
Yeah,
you know?
I've experienced that firsthand.
Yeah, that's when that light goes off for people. And all of a sudden, when you start thinking about camouflage different, when you start thinking about, well, it's not all about marketing and sticks and leaves and whatever. You know, one of our old ads, you know, from back in the day was, you know, deer doesn't need sticks and leaf camo to disappear. You just think about that. How many times you see a deer, what do you pick out? You pick out that line, you know, or you see the flag, one of the two.
Yeah, that's usually what I see is the flag, waving goodbye.
Sure, yeah, but other than that, that's a broad base, open, brown coat, just kind of blends in. So, I mean, we feel like we simplified it a little bit. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and we've changed the pattern, you know, kind of along the way a little bit. You know, the coloration just a little bit here and there, and we've added a couple patterns, you know, kind of as we went, just for some stuff with some green and that kind of thing. But the original pattern, essentially, there's not really been any changes to it, you know, since he basically, I think he put it on the market in '92. So
his name was what now?
Larry Ryle, yeah.
Okay.
And Larry hired me in 1999. Yeah, so I've been there quite a while, and he's moved on now. He's doing some other things, but so it's been a fun ride. It's really went fast. You know, it'll be 21 years now. Golly.
Gets away from us, doesn't it?
Man, it gets away from you. Pretty amazing. Yeah.
So it sounds like in developing that pattern, I thought about that. I thought what would you do if you're trying to start a pattern? And so many people, like you said, it's like they're looking at foliage of some kind and trying to mimic the look of the bark branches and stuff like that. So it sounds like he went to another extreme of looking at a lot of photography he was doing in the development. So just what occurs in nature. I know you talk about the vertical.
Absolutely. You think about everything that grows. I mean, which way does it grow? It grows vertically. Okay. So no matter if you're in the woods of Mississippi, Arkansas, Montana, North Dakota, trees are growing straight up and down. You know, our pattern keeps that vertical rendition to it throughout all the ones we make, because that's just a natural blending. You know, you're just going to kind of blend in. If it was the other way, it's going to stand out here again like that deer's back. Okay, that's what you see because it doesn't blend in.
It's that horizontal line that's sticking out there.
That's what kind of sticks out.
Another thing, looking at the website, I noticed you were talking about in some of the science. It talked about the use of shadows too.
Absolutely.
And I thought it didn't occur to me. I've been using NatGear forever, but you don't have a shadow built into the pattern.
No, and you've seen some guys do that in the early 2000s. You know, they kind of started doing this, and essentially, that's fantastic if you're standing in the right spot. Okay, and there's a big shadow
right there
day.
with that tree.
Right.
Yeah.
But if it's a sunny, bright day in January, and you're trying to call milers down in the timber, and there ain't much. Let's say the sun's hitting you, whether you got it set up where the wind has to be, you have to be set up where you're blazing in the sunshine. Man, is that big old black shadow doing you any good? Man, probably not.
Right.
You know, you probably need to be wearing something light where you're blending in against that sun bleached tree. You know, so. And
if you're using the shadow, I know lots of we like in the timber, we want to stand in that shadow.
Sure,
but the shadow's there.
That's right.
So you're just utilizing the shadows.
Our deal is let Mother Nature cast some shadows, and you use them to your advantage. Now, absolutely, you well know this, whether hunting, whatever it may be. If you can get in the shadow, get in the shadow. But we feel like if our pattern is, if you get caught out in the sunshine, you'll be all right.
Yeah.
You know, don't have this flashing.
Yeah,
We've all had that. Don't have that gun. You know, those guns they got little shiny parts on them, so you got to watch those. You know, so.
And the blurry edges of it too is another thing I read on the website and thought, I never really had thought about it before. Breaking down what makes this pattern so great was talking about how the edges are just blurred. There's not a definite edge that you're looking at. It just kind of blurs together. You
got to work on that human form. I mean, you're dealing with everything now that's I mean, all these animals we pursue have been hunted for eons now. Okay, so they can spot you standing up there. I mean, that's it. Nothing for the most part that's hunted sees a human form and says, "Hey, what's that?" You know, in a hunted population, you know, they're out of there. They're done. Mm-hmm. So you've got to figure out how to, if you do get caught in those open situations where you've got a little chance where you're broken up and you're not you don't look like a Sasquatch standing in a black suit. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's the boogeyman. Yeah. They're out on that program.
Yeah. Speaking of boogeyman, I was talking right before you arrived this morning. I called a friend of mine to just solidify the story. He had already told me some of this. He's a gentleman that I've gotten to know through hunting from Idaho, and he's retired from the Marines, and he was with, I wrote it down here to make sure I could remember, the Joint Tactical Attack Controller was what he did when he was there. I mean, so this guy's in some pretty heavy stuff, you know, and apparently his job is to basically check out the targets and relay back to the guys that are about to bomb.
Sounds dangerous.
Yes, it does. Yeah. And he's the one that's informed them, okay, he's assessing on the ground, here's where we have a friendly target here, and he's just assessing the situation. He can mark the target for them to hit. Right. So he goes in and investigates and relays all that. And they get a little bit more leeway doing stuff, you know, special forces type stuff that he does, you know, as far as the uniforms and stuff, they get a little bit more leeway in sometimes what they do. And a lot of times within all the training and stuff that he did, he used NatGear.
Oh, yeah. He said, they did. We had a bunch of those guys. It was quote unquote under the radar, you know, and it really truly kind of was. We had some fabric that went to those guys, and we were informed, you know, it was a special forces use, it was that kind of thing. But kind of as some of those campaigns ended, some of those guys kind of started coming, you know, back to us saying, "Hey, man, I've been using this stuff for quite a while. I'm with so and so." But some really cool stories out of it. And I've got some old at the office. I should have brought them. I've got some old steels of some of those special forces group, just with all NatGear on, and they loved it, the stuff. And we actually had when the military did their uniform camo change, it was probably in the mid 2000s. We went quite a ways with that, and got really close. But it's the government, you know. At the end of the day, you see the stuff that they came out with, you can probably kind of look at that and look at us and go, I can see some similarity.
See a little something there. Yeah. Might have been a little sharing there, unintentional sharing.
And that's fine. Hey, and like I said, hey, we want those guys to be camo. They're out there busting their tail for us every day. So, but no, that was really pretty neat. Like I said, that would have been, it was the early 2000s when I remember that happening, and a lot of those special forces, they really loved the ghillie suits. You know, a lot of those guys build their own, but we were selling at that point Alicia type material that just absolutely disappears in a lot of those desert situations. It was just phenomenal, you know, and they, I think with the situation that they're in, when you're at that grade, you can say, that's what I want right there. Yeah. And they get it for you.
Yeah. So well, what an endorsement. I thought about that. You know, it's one thing for me to sit here and endorse the camo pattern that I'm wearing, the NatGear, because man, I can kill more ducks.
That's right.
But if I'm out here, people are going to be trying to kill me, trying to find. We're in that life and death situation, and they're choosing that pattern. That says a lot about how the confidence level that they have, and it's got to be there.
And you're talking about individuals too that are trained on how to camouflage. They're trained on what to look for, and what, you know, we talk about. Like you said, it's a game for us completely and totally. It's a sport. You know, it's something that we all take serious, but it's nothing like that. You know. So, but yeah, it was a pretty cool time. You know, there was a lot of that stuff over there, and we still every now and then, man, I'll hear from one of those guys either via an email or a phone call. Hey, I'm so and so. I was special forces, and we used to wear your stuff. And I mean, they're telling the truth. Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. It is cool. It is.
Dusty McDaniel, a friend of mine, that sometimes he'll join us on the podcast and do a little co-hosting. He wasn't able to make it today, but he talks a lot about a friend that he has that is a pilot that flies around the Black Swamp area quite a bit. Yeah. You know, so when during duck season, hey, where are the ducks? You know, well, let's go get in the plane. Let's go find them.
Yeah, that's handy.
And he talks. Yeah, it is. I wish I had. I wish I had. Like
we might need an elite plane.
It might be a remote control. But he talks about flying around like the Black Swamp, the public hunting out there, and he can see the hunting parties and stuff. He says that one thing he's noticed, the boats that have the NatGear Camo on it.
Right.
And you got to think too, he's looking from the same view that a duck is looking at. You know, sometimes we, as duck hunters, we look at a straight on shot of our blind or our camo, whatever we're looking at, you know, and it's different for a duck than it is for a turkey or maybe even a deer if you're hunting on the ground or something like that. But we got to think about that bird's eye view. That
you know, that's something to me that I think, I'm sure you hunt with a bunch of different people throughout the year, and I'm kind of the same way. And that's something I've always paid attention to. There are very few people that will go through the work of hiding a boat. Mm-hmm. You got two choices. You either got to get it under some stuff, you got to get it right, or you got to get it out in the wide open, or you got to get it a long way away from you and make sure that the wind ain't not wrong on the wind. Mm-hmm. But so many people probably have their hunt sabotaged before it ever starts because they take that boat and they push it 50 yards downwind and they don't worry about it. Mm-hmm. Man, that thing from above, it is a beacon. Mm-hmm. It don't look right. You know, it wasn't there yesterday. You know, it just doesn't look right. You know, where people say, well, big boxy duck blinds, they get used to them. Well, how long's that thing been there? Mm-hmm. You know, those ducks been flying by it all season. You blow in there in some new timber hole, and then there's a box sitting in there, a big black box, especially if it's a darker colored pattern or whatever it may be. Mm-hmm. Or you get a day where there's, you know, heavy cloud cover. We all know about hunting ducks in the clouds. I just assume it never be cloudy during duck season.
Yeah, amen.
So
amen.
You throw those clouds in the situation, you got to hide all your people. And you got to hide all your equipment. You know, that's even, to me, when you start thinking about, we're all guilty of it. I got one that weighs 87 pounds. When you've got that, we call them duck purses, you know, a blind bag. When you got that duck,
European shoulder bag.
That's right.
But, yeah.
When you got that duck purse on the side of the tree there, and it's, like I said, it's not that big a deal when it's sunny and things are camo and good and you got some shadows. But you take them cloudy days, you got to think about those things like that, and dogs on a stand and, you know, just different things like that where you need your camo working for you really overtime, but you got to be thinking too. You know, don't set yourself up to not be as successful as you can just by doing a little bit of extra work. You know, I've hunted with guys before when it come time to go, where is the boat? Man, it's going to be a minute.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know, because it's a half mile. Yeah. You know, so because they're going to make it where it's not going to be a part of the issue. Mm-hmm. You know, which, like I said, there's kind of two ways to do it. You either get really good at getting it hid where it works right, you know, through in between your trees or some of your brush tops or whatever it may be, or you get it a long way away from you, and you help. Like I said, there's kind of two schools of thought. Do you cover it up? I've seen some of them covered that looked awesome. I've seen some of them covered that look like, golly, man, that thing is just right there. I'm like,
you
this
just put a flag on it. Yeah,
this ain't gonna last long, you know. Or that big red gas tanks, you know, shining, or the shiny motor, you know. So just different stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm like that too.
All stuff you know.
I make a lot of mistakes when I'm duck hunting all the time, but hiding that boat, that is something I'm a stickler for because, you know, some days, you know, it's great. Maybe you can flare a few flocks away and you still come out there with a limit, but some of them you better not screw up.
You might have needed that six-pack.
Exactly. Limited opportunity. So you better make it happen. And the little extra walk-in, if I'm carrying ducks out, I don't mind going a little further.
That's right.
So
well, and the deal too now, you know, we talk about pressure on the resource of all resources. You know, they're getting hit at from every angle. You know, so you've got to be sure that you're trying to do something a little better than the next guy. You know, That's it.
Now, when we think about NatGear, we think about the original NatGear patterns that most people see, but you guys have got a little bit of variation available. You've got some different.
Well, we do. We make a spring one called SC2 green. It's just basically the base is the natural, essentially, and we darkened it up and we kind of added a bunch of green elements to it. We did that one probably, it's been 15 years ago now, and it is awesome in the springtime. And then again, where we use it a lot, September when you start getting the archery season open, and guys out west elk hunting just love it. We make it in a lightweight type material, and it just does great. I've got matter of fact, one of the guys that does our media for us, he is in Kansas, and he says, man, that SC2 just about year round in those hedge trees, it's crazy how much it blends in. You know, he'll take a handful of people a year on their first turkey hunt, you know, so traditionally those guys like to move around a lot, and you're trying to talk to them, and you're trying to do the best you can to make everything put together. He said, "Man, I can put them right on the field edge in this, and I don't have to worry about if they'll be still." So that does good for us. And then we do a snow pattern, which is awesome all across the North and the Midwest. Goose hunters, predator hunters, deer hunters. It's the natural. Essentially, with the base is just changed to white. So it's got a little bit of the brown layering in there. Most snow, essentially, especially hunting situations, it's not just solid white. There's brush, and we've had some photographs there that we haven't even been able to use. This is the honest to goodness truth, because they're too good.
You can't see it in the photo.
Well, because people are going to say, "Well, you photoshopped that."
Yeah.
They're going to say, "Well, you doctored that up for an ad." So it's like you have to. We had years ago, we had them where we had outlined the guy. Yeah, it's pretty wild. And then we make a blaze pattern. There's several states here you can wear blaze camo. Some states you can't. So that's just kind of a novelty. We just make it a few little pieces, just for guys that basically make a couple nice vests and a couple caps, because there are, deer see in the UV spectrum. So there is something to breaking your outline up for that too. Where you can wear it, we certainly recommend it. But like I said, those regulations are kind of state by state.
Right. Right. You have a field pattern as well?
We have our Fields Waterfowl Pattern, which we came out with a couple years ago. Kind of just really something to introduce to the waterfowl side that was a little bit different kind of from us. We gathered all the elements are local, and it's kind of cool. I think I've shown them to you. I've still got them in a box there in the office, of just nutsedge, rice, willow, duckweed, smartweed. I mean, you name it. We kind of took all this stuff that you find in the marshes, that you find really in, and this is what kind of stood out, coffee beans. So all these things, I'm thinking, what comes to your mind? WRP. You right?
Right.
Man, you put this stuff in WRP. And what's the hardest place in the world to duck hunt?
WRP.
So you put that stuff in WRP, and it is just lights out. Really great elements. So the guys are loving it for that. And then I've got guys that are using it. They're telling me, man, they're using it in what I call trashy timber, where you got some buckbrush, where it's not clean.
Yeah.
Places where we're seeing more ducks probably used nowadays, seems like, So they're using it there and loving it too, So we just kind of eased that into a handful of just our little waterfowl pieces, and it's done pretty well for us. And I've got one I've been messing with, for a few years now that we may do something a little more maybe aimed just directly at timber hunting, timber duck hunting. The natural pattern's awesome for that.
Yeah.
But maybe give you an option. It's kind of what we're thinking. And I don't know if we'll ever get there. I've got it as far as a big computer screen.
Don't tease me, baby. Don't do that to me.
It's cool looking. I like it. To me, it would just be a more backwater friendly type thing. Is what I would kind of call it. It's got some more darker elements to it, where just you kind of see and you would think, oh yeah, man, I could see where that would make sense. So, and that's not just us trying to sell something to somebody. It's something that's fun to look at and fun to play with. So the really cool thing is now, man, this technology is so crazy. You can take these, like I said, actual elements, and through a few photographs and some documents and you get that thing on the screen, you move it around, put it where you want it, line it up the way it's supposed to be lined up, and you start
designing,
start cutting off. Let's print it, see what it looks like, and then you start kind of getting your colors right, and it's pretty neat. It's that part of it's fun.
I bet it is fun.
Yeah. And then like the first time we got that Fields in, okay, you've been to our place here, and we've kind of got a WRP situations there out front in that pond that kind of comes up and down. So there's a lot of trash in there. We got that piece of fabric, and traditionally the worst thing to compare a camouflage pattern off of is a piece of fabric, because it's going to look like a piece of fabric laying there. You're better off if it's in a shirt, you can hang a shirt. You know what I mean? It's just got the forms, right? It's a big square, so you're thinking it's just going to blow up. I've probably still got pictures on my phone. Laid that piece of fabric in there, and it was like, are you kidding me? It was just like, it was awesome. And that's when I said, man, we got something there, Yeah. I said, we got something there. I said, this isn't going to be for everybody, we had a lot of people that kind of, commented about it. Oh, that's not NatGear. That's different. Well, it's not for everybody. It's not. But for the guy that's hunting WRP, or for a guy that's, there's a lot of guys out there that, man, they don't hunt timber. They don't hunt rivers. Mm-hmm. They hunt WRP, and they hunt pit blinds, and they hunt rice fields. Something like this, if that guy's been using some other patterns, maybe this gives him an opportunity to, hey, there's something that kind of works for me. That's a grass pattern. That's what I need. Mm-hmm. And these guys are here at home. They're here to Arkansas. So that was kind of our thinking.
Yeah, and people can get so hard-headed with their camouflage.
Oh, man.
You can get, I'm telling you something, right? You never heard that before.
No,
but
that's right.
You got to be thinking about what's your goal with your camo. So many people are like, well, I'm this camo guy.
Oh, man.
And it's like,
you're right.
They're married to that, just like, it's like Coke and Pepsi.
It's
got to be this or it's no good. Well, it's like, well, wait a minute. Where are you hunting? What's your surroundings? Your camo, you should be basing this off what you're trying to blend into, not the tag, not the name of it.
I think that part of it, it's changed some. It's not that stigma was so there when I first started there in the late 90s. It was just like, man, it was cut and dried. You were either this guy or you were that guy or you were that guy.
Democrat or Republican.
That's it, man. There was they drew the line. But now it seems like, and I'm sure it's because of other brands, other brands that came out there and what we said when we seen some of these guys that are pretty big now came out, we're like, wait a minute, man, we had a weird pattern before. Our weird pattern was cool. It's kind of what our thing's always kind of been, when we've seen some of the things that hit the market now that have done really well. I think those guys have helped kind of open people's eyes to, wait a minute, let's rethink this camo thing just a little bit. Maybe it's not that one green leaf or stick or whatever it may be. It's awesome when you're in that right situation. Mm-hmm. But do you really want to have to buy a suit for every place you go and every time of year, or do you want to have something that's going to give you a little more versatility?
Right.
That's our thought is, we have the options of some versatility. Mm-hmm. If you called me tomorrow and said, man, I'm a deer hunter and I'm a duck hunter and I'm a turkey hunter, I can put you in about 6 pieces for probably less than anybody else out there. Mm-hmm. It'll get you. It'll cover you. Mm-hmm. You may not have all the bells and whistles, but I can get you through. We've made we made a windproof fleece, first started making it, way back when. It sold really well. And we made some changes to it the last couple of years, kind of changed the material a little bit. And we've just been requested. Everybody wants that old fleece back. Oh, they want that old. So we're bringing it back. Classic windproof fleece is back next year in our jacket and pant. We've sold jillions of them over the years. But really and truly, those 2 pieces will take you through most of the duck season, almost all the deer season. Mm-hmm.
And here in Arkansas, you talked about that snow pattern. We just it seems like we get less and less snow in Arkansas as we go. Yeah. So
we got a few snow goose hunters that use it, though. Believe it or not, they use those cover ups.
That's actually what I was about to say. I've got a friend. He's from Louisiana, and he's a guide and I would give the name of the outfitter if I knew exactly what the name was. But a friend of mine named Joseph Bakari that does a lot of speckle belly hunting, and we toyed around with going hunting. It just seemed like the timing was always off. And I'm determined this year, Joseph, if you're listening, I'm going hunting with you this year. I'm determined.
Get on that early spec season, man.
Yeah. But they kill a lot of specs wherever this is that he's got, and they do great down there around Carlisle. And he told me, we were talking about, I was trying to get geared for the potential of going out there. Okay, so as far as layout blind, what do I need to bring? He said, we dress in white.
Yeah.
And we hide in the snow goose decoys. He said, it's the darndest thing you've ever seen. I'm like, man, I've got to see this.
It's fun.
And I told him, I said, have you ever used the snow pattern with NatGear? And he was, being down here in the South, he was unaware that you guys had a pattern. So I was like, you need to check this out, because this would be, especially like laying out in those fields, like you said, it's not just solid white. You would have those little dark elements mixed in that would help you blend pretty good. So that would be a definite use here.
We have a handful of guys that use that for snow goose hunting, and like you're talking about the spec hunting, that's something that's just completely exploded in the past 5 years, 10 years. It's quite, and it just continues to grow, as they up the limit. And I think we're even in a situation now. Was I reading a survey where we might get more days, and something about possibly more days or an additional bird, or less days with an additional bird, something along those lines.
I thought it was more days with back to 2.
That's
what
it
heard. Was.
I saw some on
I
that
think
this
most everybody would probably just assume stick to 3. You know, I know some of the guys I know that guide up here, they're actually from Louisiana. Louisiana's 2. Okay, and he told me, he said, man, you wouldn't believe the number of people from Louisiana that come up here because it is 3. You know? So, you know, you talk about something that has, like I said, I mean, when I was a kid, man, I don't even know if we didn't even hardly have any.
You didn't see them.
No. You know, and now it is really something, like Hunter Longnecker that works for me, he said, man, Lodge's Corner, that's the specklebed capital of the world. And I think now most of the research is coming out, I think we're actually wintering more than they used to in Louisiana. So I think that's actually the case you know, for us. So we tell you, that's a good thing. A lot of people started out calling them a few years ago, you know, duck hunt savers, you know. And then they just realized, man, how fun they are to hunt, how great they are to call. And I will say this, I don't consider myself a specklebed goose caller. I can call one a little bit. 7 or 8 years ago, I was good enough. I'm not hardly good enough now. They're getting harder and harder to turn. You know, it seems like, you know, just in the past few years, it's like, well, it's going to take a little more than what I got right there.
You got to practice a little bit more.
Yeah.
A little more prep.
Yeah.
So what's new with that? I know looking at your site, you know, we always think about hunting season, but you guys have got some spring out.
You know, we basically we revamped the entire spring apparel line for this year. We had 2 new shirts in the SC2 green, a new pair of pants, and a new leafy top for turkey. All that stuff hit the market back in February. It's done really well. And then also we've got a casual kind of a fishing line. You know, I'm wearing one of the shirts now, and then we've got a long and short sleeve shirt, a pair of shorts, super lightweight stuff, just kind of great for everyday wear or for our fishing or whatever it may be. And then we also did something's kind of hitting right now is we're doing a real lightweight, these camo fishing hoodies. You know, a lot more and more stuff come out about sunscreen. Yeah, you don't really need to be using sunscreen. You don't really need to be putting that on you, essentially, is what the more research comes out about that. So it's better to cover yourself, okay? And then that way you essentially don't have to worry about putting anything on. So we came out with this stuff's lightweight. I mean, you can stretch it. I love it so much, I think I could probably wear like a medium. It'd be a little tight. But
it's got to be cool. We're covering our arms and everything in summer. It's got to be cool.
Super lightweight. You know, it's got a little hood on it. And we made a little mask to kind of go with it, you know, for a neck gaiter and to cover your face up and stuff. But stuff is just going awesome. It was originally it looks like it was printed in solids, but we started kind of messing with the pattern, taking some elements out of it. And we did one in like a light gray and then like a blue. And man, it's just really cool looking. And I thought, yeah, we'll sell some of those. They'll do okay. But man, I tell you, it has surprised me. They're doing really well. Everybody, like you and I talked about before this thing with the situation we've been dealing with here with the corona, there's a lot more people fishing. There's a lot more people outside. You know, there's a lot more people just doing a lot of other things. I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday that does a lot of stuff in the industry, and he was saying just some numbers he has seen out of one of the major retailers on the fishing side. The fishing, everything is just exploded.
Yeah.
But he said the thing that was really interesting, because you got to have hooks and bobbers and spinner baits. We all know that. But there was 2 shirts that were up 400%. And that's not I got to have it. That's I'm going to try it.
Right.
You know, so that's kind of the thing that we've seen. Like I said, like you and I kind of alluded to before we got on here. At the end of the day, this thing's probably going to really help conservation. We're putting a lot more funding. Guys buying hunting license, fishing license. We're going to add some people to the fold. You know, at the end of the day, hope it's a good thing. And people are getting outside. You know, I think you can go anywhere. You can't drive up and down the road right now. Everybody's pulling a boat. You know, I know it's Memorial Day weekend are about to be, but there's a lot of people participating in the outdoors, and this could be a real good opportunity for us not only to grasp new people, but to really just explain more about, you know, what it's about, what we do. You know, people talk about. My wife told me she went last week. She went to Sam's. She said, I was going to get a couple steaks, but there's not any. I said, well, it's a good thing we got that freezer out there, isn't it?
Yeah, no doubt.
You know, because it's got ducks, it's got deer, it's got turkeys, it's got squirrels. I mean, it's full. You know, and that's the thing is, a lot of hunters around the country, when somebody said, well, we're going to have to be a little short on the meat. Yeah, okay, you know, we'll be all right. You know, so
this spring material, this cooler stuff, you got stuff like you put around your neck, face, stuff like that. Now,
yeah, it's just like it's like a tube. You can just kind of wear it, pull it all the way down or all the way up, or kind of however you want to.
Is it proven to block this coronavirus? Are we going to have the NatGear COVID pattern?
You know,
we've sold a bunch of them.
And I'm certain that's why. And we don't claim it to be proof at all, but that's what Hunter, my partner there, was telling me about the other day. He's like, man, that's got to be what's going on in these masks.
Should have started making some masks. Guys are so, like we said, they're so linked to a camo pattern.
Wouldn't you rather wear camo?
Yeah, I want I might wear that NatGear mask in the store if I wouldn't.
I just wear it all the time. Yeah.
All right, so tell me a little bit. We talked about NatGear. Tell me a little about you personally. What's your favorite type of hunting? I know you turkey hunt. We've gone over that.
Yeah, and that's something that's really probably my passion. Just something I just truly enjoy. And like I said, more than anything, a lot of people talk about it's the hunt, the interaction with the animals, which you get that with a lot of different things. But the thing that turkeys have led me to are just seeing places that I probably never would have seen. They'll take you some really cool places. They really will. If you'll just you have to kind of expand your thinking. It took me, like I said, I remember the first time I was going to go out of state somewhere. I thought, man, what? I don't know. We didn't have Onyx. We didn't have any of that. You had to buy. You called up and you bought a map. From the.
What's a map?
Yeah, from the Forest Service. They mailed it to you, and you looked at it, and you start looking at, here's how you get to here. Here's the access. Where am I going to camp? A lot of those things were. And then I've still got it. I've got this big binder. I'd make my little notes on my map. You stay here, and here's a campground, and here's a convenience. All these kind of things nobody thinks about now. That you really had to have all that information. It's fun to go back and look at it now. But and then you go out there and you get to see, like, man, why else would I be here? I'm not going to be up here hiking. Probably should be, but I'll go up there and turkey hunt and I'll check it out, and you get to see different things and meet different people. And really, overall, man, they're all really good experiences. So that's probably my favorite thing. Duck hunting's awesome, but here we're kind of spoiled, man. Really, we there's been so many experiences where you just said, golly, but there's guys in Idaho that on some little river that, well, I'd like to see that too.
Yeah.
I'd like to be leaned up against a cottonwood when they come in there sideways, banking in one of them little rivers. I'd be fine. Let's do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So all of it had the aspects of all of it really. And I think as you get a little older, you get more in tune with, just going places and just seeing different things. It just doesn't become about, when we're young, man, we're charging hard and we're the first guy at the boat ramp. And, it's all about numbers and getting the limit and that kind of thing. That changes, not the passion doesn't necessarily change, but maybe what you get out of the hunt, changes.
Yeah, and how many times can you look back at a hunt and you're talking about the great times? And well, how many did you of whatever you're chasing? How many did you kill, or what did you kill?
You don't
and
remember
you have
that
to think.
part.
Yeah, you don't really remember that part. You remember the experiences you had with the people
or who was
that
with
you
you.
were with.
Yeah, or what happened. Like the other morning when it was about 11 o'clock and I was trying to cook breakfast on a Coleman stove, and it was 32 and snowing sideways, and there was nothing to break the wind. And I said, we have completely lost our damn mind. What are we doing?
That's why you're in the asylum now. Yeah,
yeah, I'm telling you. So, and that's what he said. He said, he said, we're not going to remember the turkey hunting up here. I said, I'm going to remember that morning of them ducks. I said, but other than that, I said, I'm going to remember standing right here freezing to death trying to get these bacon going.
Yeah, so. And I went not to in any way try to take this show. We were having so much fun being lighthearted about this, and I don't mean to get too serious or even morbid about it. But I went to a funeral for a gentleman the other day. It was a good friend of my dad. And this is one of the guys that I started hunting with. And it's I'm during the service, and eyes tearing up a little bit. But what I'm remembering is my time in a duck blind with this man.
Oh yeah,
that's what I'm remembering.
And those will always be with you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's a very, very great memories with that for sure. So one of my favorite things about being at hunting camp, in the blind or at camp, whatever, I love the story. We're all good storytellers, and occasionally one will be true.
That's right.
But so do you happen to have, and if you don't, that's fine. I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but do you have like a great funny story duck hunting that you can share, or not duck hunting, but hunting anything or fishing?
So my favorite duck hunting ones are the hat floaters, as long as it's not my hat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we've all got a bunch of those, thank goodness. But probably a good turkey hunting one. This is when I had first kind of started traveling. And a good friend of mine, his family was from Evergreen, Alabama, and that's where home of Eddie Salter, world champion turkey call. A lot of people know Eddie. He's kind of a big voice. Turkey hunting has been for a long time, but had an opportunity to go down there, and I said, man, I'd love to go down there. Go to home of Eddie Salter. And his uncle owned all this land down there, but his name was Calvin Rawls. And so we go down there, and he said, oh, it's all set up, He said, Uncle Grady Lynn. He said, Grady Lynn said, man, we can stay over here. There's a cabin we can stay in here that they kind of fish out of in the summertime and hunt all this land. Don't you worry at all about buying a hunting license. I said, oh, hold up now. We've all heard that. I said, no, I'm going to get a hunting license. I said, I'm going to do that. And he said, well, I'm just saying. He said, we didn't have to. I said, well, we're going to get a hunting license. We go into town there, and at that point, it's a little old tiny piece of paper, still got it. You had to go into the county courthouse to get your hunting license. So go in the county courthouse, and boy, you can just imagine. The lady there is like, oh, yeah, where y'all from? Oh, yeah, Rawls. Oh, you're hunting out here on Grady Lynn's. Boy, and then all of a sudden, you're open arms in there. They know where you're going and what you're doing. Yeah. And so come back, and we went to Grady Lynn's that evening, and he said, man, we can talk about anything you want to talk about. He said, just do not talk about Alabama football. I said, I got you. He said, Auburn, all the way. He said, but you're fixing to see something. And sure enough, this cat had on his Auburn. I'm talking, it's April or May or March. And he's got on an Auburn hat and an Auburn shirt, and I think like an Auburn. I was like, all right, now I follow. So, but anyhow, he was laying all this stuff out for us, and I hope y'all didn't buy no dang hunting license. Ain't more turkeys you can shake a sticker out. Ain't nobody even hunts them. I said, I didn't say nothing. Yeah. So we clip along there the next couple of days, and we're parked out on this road on the edge of the highway going to this one farm. We're coming out. Guess who's sitting there when we come out?
The game warden.
Boy, I'm thinking, there you go. That's why you do right there, boy.
Exactly.
So he come in there, he checks your stuff. He said, Arkansas, what are you boys doing down here? Looking at him. He said, Rawls, Grady Lynn. He said, that's right. And he said, okay. He said, I bet Grady Lynn told you boys don't even buy no damn hunting license. And we just fell apart laughing. I mean, just dying. He said, I'm glad to see you Arkansas boys think on your own.
Yeah.
So that was a good one. I said, man, apparently this has happened previously. But that was a good one. That guy didn't mess with us no more. He just left us alone. He said, I just knew dang well you boys wouldn't have what you're supposed to. But we did, by golly.
That just goes to show you better always be prepared.
Man, there ain't no doubt.
That weekend, how many times did you say War Eagle just to stay on the politically correct side of things?
Hey, I'm telling you, we went down there for several years in a row. It was just a fantastic place, and they just took us in and just had a great time. But I tell you, that is a different part of the world. If you've never been to Conecuh County or to South Alabama, if you ever heard of Conecuh sausage, they actually have it up here. It's made down there, but the culture is just completely different. It's surrounded obviously by football, but something that really surprised me, those people are bananas over dove hunting.
Really?
Man, he was getting keyed up for his dove hunting in the springtime, getting their stuff planted, that was part that really surprised me. That was something that takes place down here. We consider it up here, it's a weekend, at best. Mm-hmm. Apparently, he said, man, the whole month of September, I guess they continue. I'm sure as they leave here, they probably, or whatever it may be. Mm-hmm. But that was the part I found really interesting. Here he's got, this place is just wrapped up with long-bearded turkeys. And obviously, I think at that point, I'm not sure what the situation is on deer now, but you could shoot one a day or whatever it may be. And they did deer hunt some, but those guys, man, they would sit around and talk about dove hunting, which was just interesting to me.
We're so interested in turkey, we don't care about that.
Right, yeah. So I thought that part was kind of cool. And they had the thing I really got the kick out of, we would go down there and stay about a week, and those guys, they were all probably the age I am now, or quite a bit older. They had a Thursday night social club, and they all met out at the camp. And they did that every Thursday, and that's something. We talk about camps and tradition. That's something that's kind of cool. And I don't think that's unique to the South at all, but I think that is unique somewhat to hunters.
Yeah, to outdoorsmen for sure. Yeah. It's funny. I'll tell a little quick side story. You're talking about the Auburn, Alabama thing. It is funny how they get into that. We went down. Back when the Razorbacks, we had Darren McFadden, and we had such a good team
the good
there.
Old days.
Yeah, the good old days. Yeah, we won't talk about the present, but we can talk about the good old days. So it's Jones and McFadden. We went down to Tuscaloosa, and while I was there, we were about to go in the stadium, and someone I was with had a pretty bad headache. I stopped in a little grocery that was there just right off the walk, and was going in there and get some medicine for their headache. And I was standing in line, and I had the Razorback stuff on.
Oh yeah.
And people were so nice for the most part. Sure. You run into a few knuckleheads, you know, but for the most part, everybody was pretty cool. And I was standing in line, and there was a guy. He turned around. He said, "Oh, you from Arkansas?" He had his Alabama stuff on. He's going to the game. Yes, sir, I am. You know, and he told me, he's like, "You guys got a good team. It's going to be a good game." He was very polite, very nice, and anyway, he said something about something was said about Auburn, and I said, "Well, I know," and I knew the truth. But so I was just trying to irritate him a little bit. And I said, well, listen, I know you guys are pulling for Auburn in that game because, you know, you're from the same state. So I know when they're not playing Alabama, I know you guys really pull for Auburn, you know. Of course, I knew the lie that was. And, I mean, he didn't crack a smile. He looked at me with some serious eyes like he's ready to stab somebody. Yeah. And he said, let me tell you something. He said, today they played a game earlier that they won, and while they were in the middle of their games, their fans said those bastards were singing the Razorback fight song. so he was not having. No, I believe he was not having any of that. Deal. It's funny though. It's funny. A different. We think of football and you know, Arkansas is considered a southern state. I understand that, and to me, when you get kind of southeast of I-40, that it's got a little bit more of that feel. Mm-hmm. But kind of as you go to the north and the northwest, it's almost got a little more of a Midwestern feel. But the tradition down there of football, man, we don't hold a candle. Oh. We've got a football team and we have tradition. I understand that. But that right there, ooh, man. They take it to the extreme.
It's a different deal. It really is. Yeah.
Well, that's a good, funny story. Tell me about the best hunt you ever went. If you had one hunt that you would say, man, this is the best one that I ever went on, what would it be?
You did kind of put me on the spot there. You know, probably I would say are some of the best hunts or whatever. Some of the parts I enjoyed probably most in my life was probably what I call the less responsible time as a human being before you have a wife and a kid and a family. Whereas your mainstay is, do I have gas in the boat and I got some shotgun shells?
Life is good.
Yeah. I would think that whole time I was in college, man, it was through the early 90s, duck hunt was popular, but man, if you had a little bit of want to, you could just, some slammers. I tell you, one of the best ones we ever had was up in, I don't even know, we probably can't even mention places on here, we get in trouble, north of here just a little bit. And we had just been working on them, had been great, been just really good, and been staying on ducks. They'd been kind of staying in the same place, which you don't really do anymore. And my dad, when it went to 2, what was that, 91 or 2 or something, we went to 2 mallards. He's like, I ain't messing with it anymore. So he kind of quit. And this would have been probably 94, 5 or 6, whenever we went back to 4 or 3, or however it started. But anyway, so we're up there just working on them. And I said, Dad, you got to go, man. I said, it's an easy deal. I'll put you in the boat. I'll get you out. Water's knee deep, man. And it's grab a tree, and it's come on. It's worth the price. Come on now. I'll go with you, boys. I had 2 or 3 buddies, and we all kind of did the same thing. And it was as classic as you could imagine. You know, beautiful sun, a little bit of wind, right where you want it. Quack, quack, quack. You know, wham, wham, wham. I mean, just good. And that was cool. Ready to see him kind of enjoy it. And that Auto 5 was working on some of them like it used to when I remember being a kid. You know, and he made a big whoop out across there to get something, and whew, down he went. Oh, and we weren't easy on him at all. You know, oh man, let's get you in the boat. You know, yeah. So that was probably one of the most memorable hunts for me that I really remember, because I remember, so many times as a kid, coming up and, you went with them, to be able to take him and do something like that. Now I take him to do different things now, but that one, or probably one of my first memories. I remember being in a duck pond with my grandpa and my uncle, my dad, and, ducks come in, boom, and, oh, you got one. Did I? You know what I mean? I never really was. All I knew was I shot. Yeah. And I thought, man, I don't even know if I seen a duck. That didn't seem like that one I was shooting at fell. One fell over here, So it was probably, we didn't have much January duck season back in those days, but probably late December, on the back of this shallow water flat, and it was freezing up, okay? And you can imagine taking a kid. I'm sure what this was all about. It wasn't about me shooting ducks by myself. It was about I was probably couldn't be still or whatever. So there was a little bit of pool of water. Probably wasn't much bigger than this. It was still open, and there was some brush along the bank there. real brushy. He said, you just bury up in that brush right there, throw a couple decoys out. He said, there'll be some sailing here in a minute. He had it on. So you did that today, they'd throw you in jail, But I was sitting there, man, and I'll never forget some ducks. I probably had some kind of little old chatterbox or whatever, and they swung around there, a pair of them, they slid in there on that ice, come skeeting in there, and I raised up, boom, boom, got me 2 of them.
There you go.
Golly, looky here. It's come back, it's getting dark, here comes Dad. He ain't got a thing. And I got 2 that I certified shot, so that's something I don't forget that either, So.
Yeah, best hunt, you get 2 birds, but still something that you remember and treasure that more.
Like I said, the best thing was he didn't have nothing, and I know he was kicking me out there because this ain't no kind of spot, Yeah. So like I said, you look back on that stuff and you go, oh, wait a minute, maybe they weren't putting me, they were just leaving me somewhere, so I'd leave them alone. What that comes down to,
They did tend to lie to us a little bit when we were kids.
I think so, yeah, and that's okay. Hey, it's not like it is now. I take my kids now, and they've got this or that, or this or that, and you got to turn all that stuff every now and then. But we didn't have that option. If you at that point you had the light switch came on, you going with me, boy, and that was it.
Yeah.
And if you didn't get up, and you weren't going,
right?
So, but that was I had just a crazy desire. My meemaw used to always just tell me, oh, is that all you're going to do? You go hunt and fish. You go hunt and fish. That's all you want to do. You need to be sure you're paying attention in school. You just want to hunt and fish. I said, yeah. You can do all that, meemaw. You can do it all. Just, But they grew up in a time, my grandpa been gone quite a while, but, 2 Purple Hearts, and just the greatest generation, we would call them, and grew up in a rough time. So to them, hunting really wasn't a sport.
Yeah.
It was we're going to get some rabbits and some ducks or whatever it may be, Like I said, my people duck hunted on Saturday mornings. That's what he did for sure. And every now and then when it was really good, he'd slide off, during the week. But that was it. So it's a different time now. We all have that device. So essentially, there's a lot of us that can get off for a couple hours of a morning. I think that's why you've seen the increases in participation in different places, which is not a bad thing. But we just need to be sure that we're pay attention to the resource. I think that's something that always needs to be in the forefront. I think was really in the forefront kind of when I was coming up as a kid, because we just had that massive drought on the prairie. Massive. You remember that. We're probably about the same age. And it was tough. You had guys that were my dad's age then that said, I don't know, we ain't going to shoot them more of them. We're going to leave them alone for a little bit.
Are we talking like around 80?
Yeah, it was in the late 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I think I've still got the DU cover magazine where it's cracked ground, you know. And the thing is, that can, that's Mother Nature, and that can happen tomorrow. It can change everything. But I think at least now, here again with the technology, I think we can move a lot faster, and they can work on regulations to make sure that we're not overdoing anything. But there's going to be probably a lot of different things that need our help before it's all said and done. It probably is a good thing that we're selling more hunting licenses and more fishing licenses, because at the end of the day, you have these conservation organizations. They're not going to be holding banquets. So they're not going to be raising that money. A lot of people think, well, that doesn't matter if I'm not buying raffle tickets. Well, it does, okay, because they get matching money based on, from the state, they get matching money based on that from the federal government. So, that's just the kind of thing to think about. I think you'll see as we come out of this deal, just some different ways to try to just to make sure that we're funding this conservation, because the deal is we're consumptive users, 100%. The guy that's out there looking at birds, he's not consuming anything. I understand that. But he's using the road you and me built. He's using that access to put his canoe in that you and me paid for. So, I'm a proponent of some of those guys start paying their way a little bit, and maybe they will. The best thing you can do for conservation is buy a hunting license right now.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and that's
I kind of went off on a tangent too.
No. Maybe on a tangent, but it was a good tangent, because we do as outdoorsmen, we need to realize, that look at more the effects of everything with the coronavirus and everything that's happened. We need to look at everything that got missed here, and these if this is truly our passion, this is what we need to step up for.
That's right. Yeah, and like I said, that's the thing. That's something that I think that's I understand how your family comes first, and everybody. if you're out of work or you're laid off or you're whatever it is, I understand you don't have extra money to do anything. But somebody was mentioning to me they had bought tickets to a banquet that had been canceled, and he said, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'll call, get my money back. And I said, man, you need that $50? Because if you don't, they do.
Yeah. Because
all of a sudden that's net money for them.
Yeah.
They don't have $35 in that 50 from a meal and from this and from that. So, that's kind of the thing. I grew up, how I kind of got involved in this whole thing was through Ducks Unlimited, all through college, working with them. So we were putting these banquets on and, just really watching, kind of what you started figuring out, the more things you can get for nothing or to get quote unquote under it. Our biggest goal every year was, how much can we net, the gross number, it looks great, but how much we got to pay the caterer, we would really try to work that thing down. And, to me, that was important. It was important how much money we're sending to help out, because at the end of the day, everything now is extremely expensive. It gets this technology, what comes along with it is a cost.
Right.
It's not cheap. So, but the data's quicker, it's better. We can react so fast now. Look at, have some of these guys tell you what a GPS tracker used to cost they put on a duck. They're $2,000. And that's not the case now. It's more availability to do that kind of thing. But you got to have the device to track it and all that kind of thing. So it all kind of goes hand in hand. But all that research out there for me, man, it's just awesome. I love really diving into that. They're doing a lot of that on turkeys right now. GPS stuff where they're actually putting a GPS device in gobblers in the wintertime, turn them back loose, and then on a hunted population, they're putting on you as the hunter, okay? So they don't tell you where the turkey's at, but they know where he's at, and they can kind of watch how the two interact. And they kind of have found out they all kind of have a different personality. Some of them leave, just go off property, don't come back for the rest of the year. It's traditionally done on a piece of public land. Some of them stay right there and shut up. Just don't make any sound. Go about doing what they're doing, but just don't make any sound doing it. Others go about their daily routine. They end up in the freezer a lot of times. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is really neat. There's a lot of research coming out like that. I know I listen to a lot of different podcasts and stuff, and that's a lot of that research is coming out, and it's really cool. But here again, what goes along with that is it has to be funded. Those guys they have to get grants, especially if they don't work for a state agency. Most of the guys that are doing it now aren't working for state agencies. That kind of gives them a little more freedom they don't have to spin it, because, I know if you're familiar with a state agency is a state agency, and sometimes the biologist doesn't always agree with the guy that's setting the rules. So but there needs to be, kind of a happy medium in there. We all want opportunity, no question. That's important. We want as much opportunity as we can get, but it doesn't need to be at the cost of the resource.
Right.
So we talk about this duck thing, like I was talking about earlier, when I remember when the limit went to 2 and we went to 30 days. And it's been, 25, 30 years now since we've had anything except a 60-day duck season?
Yeah.
And you're telling me that's just the way it's supposed to be? There's probably some years we shouldn't have hunted them that long. As positioned with last year when we're hunting them January 31st and they are pair bonded.
Yeah.
Why don't we open it a little bit earlier and close it a little bit sooner? I've got different opinions on that.
Yeah, it's hard, but it's a sacrifice. We hate to give that up, but yeah, sure. I agree with you. Number one, you got to protect your resource, even when it's painful. Even when it's painful, you got to protect the resource.
You want your kids, my kids, grandkids. You don't want them to sit around and go, man, you remember when there used to be a duck season or there used to be a deer season, whatever it may be. So that's the part you have to be cognizant of. And hey, there's more people every day. Habitat loss. It's real. It's true. you think about it right here where we're sitting. When you first put that shop in right there, what was past you here?
Yeah.
It was probably nothing. Probably all timber, and you start thinking about that on the grander scale, how it's like everything just kind of becomes fragmented, which luckily the old deer, he loves fragment. He's all about it, and he can really kind of flourish in that situation. But, there's a lot of other animals that can't, so you have to kind of keep that in mind too. And like I said, it doesn't come for free. And all of our forests are battling a major problem. I know all the forests across, like I said, I just got out of the Black Hills last week, and the northern pine beetle is doing some damage. Okay, they're cutting them trees. They got to come down. Man, in that climate, you know what you're talking about before those reforests of ponderosa. I mean, it's years and years and years, and you're going to have a complete and total change
the whole ecosystem there.
Absolutely. There's really nothing you can do about it. They kind of have to do it to get that thing slowed down. Now, one thing we did see that I didn't see, I was up there 2 years ago, there was some elk, but what we have seen, the difference of what we've seen in elk this year and 2 years ago, unbelievable. I mean, because all of a sudden you're putting sunlight on the ground, just like if you do down here, that creates, a different habitat. So pretty interesting. Like I said, everything's it's always kind of changing, and it all needs to work together. That's the part. We as hunters and fishermen and everybody, we're all a part of it. No matter what we may think, we're all a part of everything. From whatever you may do.
Right.
And I think so many more people now are aware of that. Every action has some sort of reaction. That's just how it is.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Absolutely. All right, one more question. I appreciate your time being here. You've been really gracious with your time. Appreciate all of this. I'm
sorry I go off on all these tangents.
No, trust
Stuff
me.
just hits me. And
this is the cool thing about these podcasts. Yeah. We sit here and talk all day if you want to.
It's probably boring to people, though.
Well, that's what
They probably come on here. They want to hear you dang world champion duck calling, I bet.
They're tired of listening to this quack. I guarantee you that. I guarantee you. Another quick question. What about the bucket list? What's still left? What are you going to do?
I tell you, I have waited and waited and waited and waited. I would really love to go out in that high country and elk hunt. I mean, it's just, we call the turkey hunt up there, we call that kind of poor man's elk hunting. That's what we kind of call it, because you're in the same country and you're seeing the same kind of animals, and it's essentially the interaction's really close to the same, but it's not the same. I would like to do it after this last stint up there, and that's old fat southern boy, about 6,000 feet, and I start feeling it a little bit, but after a day or two, man, it ain't so bad. And we ended up, you may get up at 8,000 or so, and that high country would be just killer to be in September. It would. Can you imagine, man, an elk screaming? Oh man, to me, that would be that's probably it. And one of these days, I keep saying, one of these days I'm going to do it. That's what I would like to do, but it's something different. I don't want to give up anything to have to do it, but even if you do it on your own, it's quite the undertaking. But that's the cool thing about hunting and traveling and doing whatever, man. Get out of your comfort zone a little bit. Try something different.
Things,
yeah. So I remember the first time I went to Canada, I didn't know nothing about nothing. All I know is that this was this little town I was supposed to go to, and I got there. So and it was all well worth it. So
Yeah, never regret it when you get out. When you try it. Even if you don't have success on the hunt, you see things, you don't regret it.
That's right. That's right. Lots of cool places across this country that I don't know that I would ever see otherwise. I've got a friend of mine in Nebraska. We didn't get to go this year. Tiny little town. I mean, an absolute mud hole dot. And his dad has this collection of these cars that are just, some of them are just out of this world. And nobody even knows about it, Yeah. He just got them closed up in a big old barn. But every time I go up there, I go look at them, So just different things like that. I think as you get out across the country, I tell you, as, a lot of people, it's rare when you get into a farming community across this country, man. They're all really kind of, in my experience, they're all a lot the same. They're just happy to talk to you and see what's going on. And, you're a hunter or a fisher, or you understand somewhat, we've all kind of been, I don't claim to be a farmer at all, but we've all been around it. We kind of understand what you're doing, what you're against, that kind of thing, what you're working for. So I don't know. It's interesting, man. It's a really cool country. And the thing is now is you can get in that pickup truck, man, in 8, 10, 12 hours, you can be in some completely different country. That's the cool thing. And gas is cheap right now. So
yeah, now's the time to go.
That's what I say, because those years we were going when it was $325, that was the salty part of your cost, Yeah.
So. Well, you've been kind enough to give us a couple of things for a giveaway. Some of the spring stuff. Let's do that. Let's do one of those camo fishing hoodies I was just telling you about. This stretchy, feely, cover you up. You go catch. You may catch the biggest bass of your whole life in that thing.
and one of those neck gaiters that you can use as a mask when you wear it to the grocery store. You know, I think it's great. And there's actually we got 2 colors available, so I'll let you can even have the winner pick whatever colors they want. So that'll be just fine.
Awesome. So you guys look for that on social media. We're going to put that up, and we'll have we'll figure out what the rules are going to be for this giveaway. So be sure and check us out, Outdoor Asylum, on social media, and we'll have all that posted. And if anybody wants to look into some of the gear at NatGear, what's your website?
Naturalgear.com, and check us out on Instagram and Facebook. We're real active there, so feel free to shoot us a message or share a photograph, whatever you may like. We're pretty good about if you got some cool NatGear pictures, we're pretty good about posting them up. You know, we like to see guys out there in the field using it. So there's a lot of people using it, and a lot of guys having lots of success. So
absolutely. All right, we started a little tradition here. We're sitting at a card table.
We cutting for high card?
Did you bring? Well, yeah, kind of like that. We're going.
He's making the rules as we go here. Right?
As long as I win, $5. You know, if you win, 1,000 if I do.
Right.
You want to cut those for us?
That's right.
I put you in a bad.
You know what I used to do?
I put you in a bad spot.
You know what I used to do when I'd cut them? My dad playing cards with it. He said, "You ain't smart enough to cheat." He just knock them. But I don't know. I don't trust you. You may be smart enough to cheat. I always cut away from myself too there.
Let's see here. We're doing a quick game of war. High card wins. Oh, look at that.
Oh, man.
He's got a deuce, man.
Golly.
Look at that king.
I mean, it's rigged. It is as rigged.
No,
Let me see the rest of them cards.
No, it's all right. Take me to Vegas.
I'm telling you.
John, thanks so much for being here, man.
Thank you.
Great
I appreciate it. It's a pleasure. And, hey, anytime. It's been a pleasure.
All right, thanks.
Yes, sir.